running and driving as good as it looks. Welcome everybody, thanks for joining us today. It is June 11th and we are here in beautiful Westland, Oregon. We are going to make a video of a very special car today. And if you found this video, it's likely you probably found the Bring a Trailer auction for this car. And what you're looking at here is a 1959 Karmann Ghia coupe. This car is, in my opinion, the most beautiful low light color combination, period. It's bamboo is what the body color is called, and dark green on the roof, and those are the factory colors for this car. There's a really neat accent color that comes with bamboo dark green, and once we go in close on the wheel, tire, trim ring, hubcap combo, you'll notice that the hubcap logos are also dark green to match the roof color. They typically look black from a distance or at night, but it's actually dark green, ties the colorway in, absolutely perfect. I'm a big fan of this color combination. This particular car is affectionately known in the Volkswagen community as the Edmondson Ghia. And if you Google Edmondson Ghia, and you've got some time on your hands, you'll come across several articles and literature, forum threads. There's a lot of content out on the internet about this car. And the term Edmondson is the last name of the original family that bought this car new. And the Edmondson family, Frank Edmondson, drag raced this car and campaigned it from 1959 to 1963 down in the Southern Carolina states. He was based out of Greer, South Carolina, and so its racing territory kind of existed down in that southeastern part of the United States. So it was raced for 4 years. So with that, that's a quick rundown of the name of the car, why it's called what it's called, high-level overview of some of the accomplishments in terms of racing. Had a really good career as a race car. It was never wrecked as a race car, which is really unusual. Even in late 50s, early 60s time frame, these cars weren't ballistically fast like they are today. We'll probably look at some of these quarter mile times and kind of laugh compared to what we're used to today, but still they were pushing the envelope. They were pioneers of speed, and they were constantly trying to make the cars go faster. And the car's race history is very well documented. We've got the trophies, some of them. We've got time slips. We've got race day pictures. We've got launch pictures. We've got in the pits pictures. We've got a ton of stuff. I think there's over 700 photos on Bring a Trailer. A lion's share of those are just around the documentation and the paperwork. This car is probably the most heavily documented Karmann Ghia on the planet. And if anybody has a better documented Karmann Ghia, I'd love to see what they've got, because this car is absolutely overwhelmingly phenomenal when it comes to paperwork. And I'll let all those photos speak for themselves. So what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of go around. I've owned this car for 15 years, so I probably know too much about it. I get kind of nerdy about certain things. Some of the folks that watch this video, they may not want to spend an hour doing this. So I'll try to keep it kind of abbreviated. Just keeping in mind, people have lives outside of looking at Karmann Ghias that they want. So we talked about the color combo. This car has had a full exterior repaint. The body, the door jambs, and the roof have been repainted. The top of the doors on the inside of the car are still original paint. most of the dash is original paint, and I'm going to come back to why when I say most of the dash, there's a small spot on the dash that's been blended. Put a pin in that one. We'll come back to that here in a few. But exterior repaint, the car has got original early Ghia side trim, so that is not reproduction stuff that you get off the internet or out of a catalog. That is original early Karmann Ghia side trim. This side trim was restored along with the Lemmert's beauty rings, restored by a gentleman that specializes in aluminum and stainless. He is really good, and he did all the body trim on this car. He did all 4 Lemmert's trim rings. So these trim rings, talk about this for just a second because it's really important. These are original Lemmert's trim rings, and these are all date coded. So when you flip a Lemmert's ring over on the back side, you'll see the month and the year of production. And this is a set of 4 matching Lemmert's trim rings. They've been straightened and fussed with and polished and shined up and made beautiful. But all 4 trim rings on the car are original Lemmert's rings. These hubcaps are original VW hubcaps that have been re-chromed. So when you take these off the car and you pick them up and they feel extremely heavy, and you're trying to figure out why they're so heavy, well, they're German OEM Volkswagen hubcaps that I had re-chromed. Of all the cars I've owned, this car deserved nothing but the best, and it received nothing but the best. There's the dark green hubcap logo that I referenced. That is the same color as the roof color. The wheels on this car are properly two-toned. Now let me explain when I say properly two-toned what that means, because I've seen a lot of very nicely restored Karmann Ghias where they don't get this detail right. It drives you crazy once you know what you're looking for. The two-tone brake, when you get down deep into the crevice of this wheel, you'll notice that it comes into that crevice white and it exits the crevice white. So when you look deep into that seam, all you see is white. However, on the outer edge, you see black. If this was a Volkswagen Bug, you would see the two-tone brake between the white and the black right down deep inside of that crack. So on a Karmann Ghia, the two-tone brake where the white and the black meet is a blend, and it disappears behind this trim ring. If I was to pop this trim ring off, you'd see where the white and the black switch, and it'd be probably right around where my finger is here. So when you start getting into like concourse details and the finer details of what makes these cars so special, that's one of those details that once you kind of know what you're looking for, your eyes are going to be drawn to it. And now from this point forward, you see an early Ghia, you're going to look at that. You're also going to check the trim rings. You're going to, you know, I mentioned kind of a rabbit hole here, but welcome, you've arrived. So that is a properly two-tone Ghia wheel in the right colors with the right trim ring and the right logo, original caps. Tires were put on the car about 2 years ago. This car originally came with white walls. It's on the birth certificate. The white walls that came on this car new were a 1 7/8 inch white wall. Nobody makes a 1 7/8 inch white wall. The closest you can get is a 2. These are the 2s. So they look, if you look at the period pictures, you'll see tires that look almost the same. It's that 1/8 of a difference in the width of the white wall. So we're splitting hairs, but anyways, a lot of thought, effort, time, and money went into this times 4, including the spare. Spare was done to the same level, including the backside, everything on point. Okay, wheels and tires. We covered that good. We talked about body trim. The door handles were re-chromed. The front and rear bumpers were re-chromed. I had those done twice because I wasn't happy with them the first time. Drake, let's come around the back here, and I want to talk about these bumper guards. So when we're talking about wheels and Lemmert's and where to two-tone the wheel and how a Ghia is different than a Bug and all those finer details, there's another detail that I want to point out, and the Karmann Ghia enthusiasts that know what I'm about to point out are probably sitting there chuckling like, oh, I think I know where he's going with this. Early Ghias have what's called a cast bumper guard. This bumper guard that from this angle looks the same as a bumper guard off a 1970 Karmann Ghia. However, back to the details that matter. This is a cast guard where the stud is actually cast into the bumper guard itself, and it has a cast finish. So these are really hard to chrome because a lot of chrome shops don't want to deal with cast. It's kind of a hassle. It's hard to chrome. It doesn't always take the chrome. It doesn't always last. But this is a complete set, front and rear, of 4 cast early bumper cards that have been restored. And like I said, the quick telltale is that we've got threads and a stud poking out here, as opposed to a bolt that's coming through from this side that threads in on this end. So all 4 of these are cast, early, proper, 59, bada bang. The tail light lenses on this car were new old stock. I was very lucky to find a pair of NOS tail light lenses. I actually found 2 pair of these from the same seller. The other pair went on the 58 Ghia Cabriolet, and then the second pair went on the Edmondson Ghia. Now, if anybody's wondering what this scoop is, why in the world this car has a scoop on the back, well, that scoop is very important, and that scoop is very functional because of what's hiding underneath this deck lid. We're going to complete our walk around, and then we're going to pop this deck lid. There's something very special hiding underneath this deck lid. And you may have heard it in the exhaust note if you saw the drive-by video and it sounded a little bit different. If the exhaust note sounded slightly different, there's a reason why. Stay tuned for more. So rear bumper was replated, cast bumper guards. It's got an Abarth muffler sticking out of the back, which you can see. We talked about the Judson scoop. The Karmann Ghia script on the deck lid of this car was restored and replated. Turned out really nice. That's an early script, which is bigger than the late model stuff, so that's kind of cool. That's an original one, not a reproduction. Anytime I could find an original part or a new old stock part, that's what went on this car. That was the theme. All the wheels and tires match. Drake, if you could get the door gaps, kind of stand back and just capture the gaps front and rear.
Yep.
Something to take a look at, and I'm not trying to pick other folks' cars apart. There's a lot of beautiful Karmann Ghias out there. There's a lot of them. But back to, two-tone wheels that don't get properly painted in the right place, and door gaps that don't get set quite right. In my opinion, this is exactly the way a Karmann Ghia door should look. Front gap, rear gap, perfectly squared. The other side is just as good. The trunk lid is just as good. The engine lid is just as good. This car's never been hit. And this car is also sitting at right around 107,000 original miles. So it's never been blasted apart. For the most part, it's kind of stayed intact, and it's never had to be fully restored. The body has never been off this floor pan. This floor pan has never had any rust repair. It is absolutely rust free. I have never seen a better low light floor pan. One of these days I'll learn how to talk. Better pan, rust free in my life. It is absolutely amazingly solid. And fortunately, the car spent most of its life indoors, which is, I think, what saved it. And then being low mileage as well. So body's never been off the pan, rust-free pan. When I first got this car, I had some restless nights trying to figure out, do we pull the body off the pan, and do we do a show detail on the pan and the hardware and all that stuff. And the car had such great bones and such great integrity. It just didn't need it. It just didn't need it. Now, we detailed a lot of things, and we detailed the front beam, and a lot of the hardware got cleaned up, and it's nice, very presentable, very drivable and user-friendly. But, we never went as far as, repowder coating the pan or anything like that, because it was just such a nice original floor pan. It just kind of made sense to leave it all intact. This has been restored. This is an original swan neck mirror. It's been restored. The window trim has been re-chromed. All the window trim, top of the doors, rear quarter glass, rear window, that was all replated when the roof was repainted. Makes a lot of sense to do that while all the glass is out of the car. These are original SWF wiper arms and blades. I put new old stock rubber in these, so they're old. This car never sees the rain, so I never really plan on using them. But those are all original, correct for 59 windshield wiper assembly, and it does work, by the way, just in case you ever need it, get caught in the rain. Now towards the front of the car, these are a beautiful pair of early Karmann Ghia headlight trim rings. And the way that you can tell an early ring is this little divot here at 12 o'clock. And what happens when these early Karmann Ghia headlight rings get sent through chrome is they'll over polish and overfill this Hella logo. So you might be looking at an original early low light headlight ring, and this has been buff smooth. It's probably an original part. They just got a little bit carried away. The guy that did my bumpers the second time, I had him do this pair of headlight rings, and I emphasized the fact that that Hella logo not get touched any more than necessary. Show chrome, but also make sure that logo is nice and crisp and still legible, and they both match. So those turned out really nice. So that's a really clean early headlight ring. They're both flawless. These air vent grills are original. Those are not reproductions. Those were also restored. They turned out really nice. And you can see the wire mesh screen in the proper argent silver behind them. It's exactly how that's supposed to look. There's the two cast bumper guards up front that we talked about. I had the turn signal bases re-chromed. This is a faceplate that kind of, these are glass, and these are also new old stock, and these get attached via this ring, and I had the bases and I had these rings re-chromed and put NOS lenses on these. And you got to remember, when I'm talking about like NOS parts, taillights, and turn signal lenses, you know, I was acquiring parts for this car a decade and a half ago, and you could still get stuff. You could still find minty, new old stock, boxed, low light parts back then. I know the landscape has changed quite a bit compared to today, but you know, the parts collection phase for this car started 15 years ago, which I think is an advantage. It'd be really hard to do this car today and try to recreate it with that attention to detail, because a lot of that stuff you just can't find anymore. Okay, this license plate. So what's the deal with the license plate? And people ask me that when they see the car. This is a South Carolina plate from 1959. This license plate spent some time on this car back when it lived in South Carolina. At one point in its past, it was registered and titled to this license plate. I actually have the pair, and I had both of them restored. So whoever ends up with this car, the lucky next owner, will get both of these, and they're both beautifully restored. They're high attention to detail, you know, the lettering, the numbering, very straight. It's the proper two-tone color combo for a South Carolina 59 plate. The fact that it has some ties to the car is pretty cool, which is why I run it up front. But that's the deal with that plate, and why it has a South Carolina up front and an Oregon license plate in the back. It has a connection with the car. And I think that covers everything, Drake. I wanted to, let's hit that sticker real quick, and then we'll jump to interior and miscellaneous. I have never shown this car in the time that I've owned it, but what I did do in 2016 is I took it to the Forest Grove Concourse, and the car was put on display at the concourse, and it was really cool. People love seeing cars with a great story. This car's got as good a story as any of them. And the Saturday before the show, so the concours is always on a Sunday, the Saturday before the show, all the cars go on a tour. And for the cars that are competing for awards on Sunday and getting judged against a 100-point scale, if you complete the tour with your show car on Saturday and you end up in a tie on show day, the car that completed the tour under its own power gets the win. It's treated as a tiebreaker. So we went on an unbelievably awesome cruise through wine country, Oregon wine country, stopped for a great lunch. My family and I took this car. We earned this sticker. We displayed it on Sunday. It was great. I've got pictures of this car at the starting line. I'll have to dig them up, and I'll put them up in the auction listing. Pretty cool. And it's surrounded by some amazing company. Amazing company. So that's what the sticker is all about, and how we earned that, and why that's on the car. And I think that's everything on the outside. Let's move to the inside. Hopefully you got good enough lighting there. And I'll open up the passenger door. And the first thing you're going to see when you get into this beautiful Karmann Ghia is something that you probably will not see on another lowlight. I'm guessing they're out there, but they're far and few between. These are original door panels, and this is a match set of original early Karmann Ghia door panels. Now, when you see a restored car or even a nice original car, the telltale sign of an original versus a reproduction door panel are these heat seams. So from the factory, they had a tool with heat that actually made these seams that run lengthwise. Heat seam, heat seam, heat seam, heat seam, and so on. And on a lot of the reproduction door panels, they're using a sewing machine, and they're running a stitch down these areas. So it looks similar, but they're not heat seamed, and they're not the same. And there was a gentleman in Australia that was making concourse level heat seamed early Ghia door panels that were every bit as good as these were. They're phenomenal. And recently found out that his health isn't great, and he is no longer making those. So we don't have a lot of options when it comes to proper early Ghia door panels. These are extremely nice. These are the right color for a bamboo car, gray in the middle with the dark green top and bottom. The rear ones are just as good as the fronts, and these are just incredibly unique and incredibly special to have a set of 4 in this condition. Now, the seats have been reupholstered with the correct cloth, green, black, two-tone speckle cloth inserts. That is the correct interior for a 59 Ghia. Back seat as well. This car has a green German square weave carpet. Very nice. Now, we've driven this car, so you are going to see some wear down near the clutch pedal and the gas pedal and where your foot would be, because we have driven and we have enjoyed this car, and you are going to see some signs of wear in some miscellaneous places. It's still very presentable, but I just want to call out that, you know, it hasn't been a trailer queen. It was never intended to be. You know, back to the whole reason of leaving the body on the pan and not separating them, that same thought process persists when it comes to just a really presentable, complete early Karmann Ghia. And that theme is carried out throughout the interior. The headliner was replaced, and that was done by the House of Ghia. Mike and his team were great when it came to helping out with this car, and a second opinion needed to make the right decisions. And Mike's fingerprints and his crew at the House of Ghia, they're all over this car. And I'm very fortunate in that the House of Ghia is about an hour south of me, driving distance. It's real easy to get down to the House of Ghia and rummage for parts and advice and you name it. So they're very familiar with this car. It's been there a few times, and they've answered a few calls of mine, and emails have been phenomenal resources. So, you know, I can't take credit for everything. It was a fantastic team that helped get this car to this point where it's at. Drake, let's go around to the other side. And there's a couple of really unique dash plaques that have been on the car forever. And we'll also talk about the dash pad. Dash pad's pretty cool. There's the passenger side door panel, equally as nice as the driver's side door panel. And that is a ribbed Ghia dash pad. That dash pad does have a crack in it, right below the speaker grill. That was left alone on purpose. I haven't seen a reproduction rib dash pad that I felt was up to the quality that this car deserves. Therefore, I left the original one as is. Haven't messed with it. Now, down the road, if somebody makes a really nice one that's of the caliber that I think this car deserves, by all means, no problem swapping it out. But what we've done for the 15 years we've owned it, we've left that one in place, it does the job well. It does have a crack right there above the radio, and just want everybody to know that it is not perfect, but it's pretty darn nice. Has original sun visors, left side, right side, and that's the waffle pattern, and that waffle pattern will look familiar. That is the same waffle pattern vinyl that is in the middle of the door panels. And it gets that name based on that texture. And why don't we get a shot of the back seat while we're doing interior stuff. Back seat is also done in the black green proper cloth. Rear door panels are extremely nice. They match the fronts. The car does have seat belts front and back. The front seat belts were added by the dealer when the car was new. Those have been with the car since '59. The back seat belts I added because my family wanted to ride in it. So we added rear seat belts, and they're gray and they match. They're obviously not as old. They haven't aged, but they're the same color of gray as the front, so they all match together. And then last but not least, let's pop this open. This is an original, you'll notice it's in English. This car was a US delivered car, so the tire pressure, font, and language is all in English. This is original paint, bamboo. The original glove box. Sorry, I've got my insurance cards and stuff in here, but minty original glove box. Those are made of kind of a cardboard material. They don't do well around moisture, and this one is really nice. It's still holding its shape. It's not discolored in any way. It kind of speaks to that 107K. Oh, and it's even got the original rubber snubbers in the upper corners there, so it doesn't rattle. Okay. And, oh, I got a reminder, plaques. The plaque that is on the glove box door is from a car show in 1971 where Philip Edmondson took it to a show. Philip is the son of Frank. And that's been on there since 1971. And then there's another plaque right above the radio, which was installed by Frank. And Frank was the original owner that drag raced the car. He was the father. And he installed that when he got the car in 1959. They really match the dash well. Okay, let's take this baby for a spin. I promised to explain what was hiding underneath that deck lid and why that scoop was there, and what you're listening to is like an orchestra. This is a 36 horsepower Judson engine with an A-Barth muffler. There's a 13-minute video. I won't waste everybody's time right now on this. There's a 13-minute video that goes through the supercharger and the backstory on the supercharger. It's pretty fascinating. If you get some time, go take a look at it. But this is a beautifully running 36 horse. This is just a supercharger. It's got a great idle. We went through some great lengths to try to get the right hardware, the right washers, the right screws, all that good stuff, as accurate as we possibly could. And this is the end result. That's as good as it looks. Alright, let's take this baby for a spin. Okay. Alright, we're going to go for a spin in the Edmondson Ghia. see what that's all about. See if it lives up to the hype. And these early Volkswagens, for folks that haven't driven one in a while, or maybe have never driven one. So these are a 4-speed manual transmission. And this is the original transmission. In fact, I probably should mention that. This is the original transmission to the car that was removed in '67, but Philip Edmondson knew where it was. And he said that the shop that removed it was still in business. And he said he would swing by and see if they still had it in the boneyard. And he knew exactly what serial number we were trying to find. And it showed up on a pallet. We got really fortunate that that was an option. So that is fully rebuilt and reinstalled on the car. And you can probably hear that Abarth muffler. It's got that nice little rumble to it. And this car has the original clock, original speedometer. This is a boost gauge for the supercharger. This is the original boost gauge that Frank Edmondson ran when he raced the car. And this works. This is hooked up, and you can actually kind of keep an eye on it here. Original Judson boost gauge, and that is the original gas gauge sitting to the right of it. Now, that gas gauge does work, just so you know. We are low on gas, so it is registering empty. But that is a functional gas gauge, and I will make a note to put some fuel in it here soon. You're probably wondering why the gas gauge is mounted down low. Originally, on a '59 Karmann Ghia, the gas gauge would be mounted here. That's the original location. If you look at the owner's manual, you'll see that. And Edmondson installed a motometer 3-in-1. That's a gas gauge, oil temperature, amp meter, 3-in-1 gauge. That has been with the car forever. I was unable to find, and this particular part has eluded me, there is a sending unit that goes with that is unobtainable. Of all the neat parts that I found for this car, I was unable to chase down the sending unit for that. So that, at this point in time, still a really neat feature. It's really hard to get these, but it's not complete. And I'm calling attention to that because it's not functional. And it won't be functional until a sending unit is sourced, and then more than likely would need to be rebuilt. And Bob Koch down in California has a guy that can fix the sending units. The tricky part is just finding a good core that can be rebuilt. So speedometer works great. All the electrical, all the lights and the high beams and the low beams and the high beam indicator, everything on this car electrically works. Turn signals, you name it, horn. 6-volt horn works great. Let's touch base on the radio. When I was going through the receipts and all the invoices to upload and bring a trailer, I came across the invoice where I sent this radio out to a gentleman up in Washington State. Now, this is back in 2011. I sent it to him, and he replaced a couple of internal components and bench tested it. And it was working, and I paid the bill. Okay, cool. Everybody's happy. This radio, somewhere along the way, has stopped working. And I haven't done any troubleshooting. I don't know if it's a fuse, ground. I don't know what it is. But the fact that it was serviced in 2011 gives me some confidence that it's probably something simple. I know in the car hobby that's not always how it goes, but hopefully it's something simple, because the gentleman that went through it is really well known. He does a lot of 356 radios and a lot of Volkswagen restoration project, he is a whiz when it comes to wiper motors, bushings, the assemblies, the right part numbers. He's got NOS parts. He's got NOS wiper blades. That's where my wiper blades came from. I mentioned earlier I bought some NOS ones. Those came from him. He's also an Oregonian. Very good customer service, and he will be able to fix your wiper motor and keep it working like new as long as you want to enjoy and keep your car. So that was all rebuilt. I'm trying to think if there's anything else interior-wise worth mentioning.
Maybe the radio plate.
What's that?
Radio plate, maybe.
Yeah, those are the original. They call those tulip knobs. The shape of these knobs, they're shaped like a tulip. And you'll notice that all the knobs on the dash, the choke knob, which is over here on the left, and the wiper knob, and the headlight knob, those are all a very neat, well-designed shape, and they're shaped like a flower, I think is where the term tulip comes from. So it really finishes off these early dashes and makes them look super elegant. But you'll notice the transmission shifts so nice. No noises, nothing popping out of gear. The transaxle in this car was done by German Transaxle. They're down in Bend, Oregon, and they are like the go-to when it comes to 356s. I think just about everybody I've ever met local to me that owns a 356 has had German Transaxle go through their transaxles. Most of the air-cooled guys have them do their transmissions. They've been in the game for 4 decades. And have parts to bring these old transmissions back to life. So, transmission's fully serviced, and this car is turnkey and ready to rumble. Thanks everybody for taking a look. Talk to you soon. See ya. All right, my quality control engineer, aka 19-year-old son Drake, called me out on something that I forgot to do. And when we were in the parking lot, I mentioned the dash almost being original paint, and that I was going to explain what almost meant. I completely forgot. I apologize. So we're going to add a little snippet about that. A previous owner of this car put a CD player in this car. I can't explain why somebody would do that to this car, but that's what they did to this car. They put a modern day CD player in the dash, and that wasn't going to work. And what I did is I mentioned how helpful the House of Ghia was with this project and how talented of a crew Mike has. And there was one gentleman in particular, name is Ed, and Ed's got his fingerprints all over this car, not just the dash repair but some other things as well. And what Ed did is he did a beautiful job in a repair and a blend, a paint blend on this dash to make it look so good that you'd never know that at one point in the past it had a big slot cut out for a modern day CD player. So it's almost all original paint. There's a very small area around the radio opening that was blended, but Ed is a talented guy and he did it so well that you, if I hadn't mentioned it, you'd never know. And it's all about getting the color right, and it's all about the blend, it's all about the texture, and just making it so good. This is how you know the repair is up to par. When it's so good, you forget that the dash has been fixed.